Dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm so excited to talk about the topic today of the vegan diet and what that may be doing to your gut health. So I really wanted to bring this up and talk about it because I get a lot of questions from people, or I get a lot of DMs from people who are on this journey trying to heal their digestive health. And I say, okay, cool. So you haven't gotten any results yet. What have you tried? What have you tried shifting? What have you tried doing in the past? And very often they say, well, I tried going vegan, or I took out meat, or, that kind of comes up in one of the first few things that they do. So I wanted to address this topic today, why this may not be the answer for you, and share a little bit about my journey as well, and how my digestive health took a huge hit following a vegan diet, unfortunately. I'm not here to convince anyone to eat meat if you don't. I'm not here to shift your ethical beliefs, anything like that. I just wanted to talk about it because I do feel like I am here to help you really be a detective in your own health journey and kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together, right? So that's what I really help you do. Like, oh, this may be happening because of this. Now I see it now, right? So you can make better choices in the future that serve you better. Not trying to stray anyone one way or the other. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about it. I know it can be a little bit controversial, especially when people feel really strongly about it, which I respect and understand. I was there, and I really had to make shifts for my own health because my body was falling apart. It was not fun. So if you're new here, hello, my name is Hannah Aylward. I'm a certified holistic health coach, and I specialize in gut health. And like I mentioned today, I'm going to be talking about the topic of the vegan diet and whether this may be a good choice for you or not. So I would love to hear from you. Please come say hi if you're joining me live, either in the Facebook group or on Instagram, and let me know where you're tuning in from. I love meeting you guys. So come on and say hi, and let me know as well if you've experienced anything like this. So it's kind of funny. I posted about it on my Instagram story last night, kind of letting people know that I'd be going live on this topic. And someone immediately responded and was like, I just found you, the vegan diet completely wrecked my body, right? So to each their own, right? But I really want to break down kind of the science behind it and why it may serve you in certain points of your life, right? But not others. So this is really, really important as well. When we are trying to repair our digestive health, there are certain things that we want to take out of our diets, and there are certain things we want to keep in and bring in more of, right? So it may not suit you for this period of your life if you're working to repair your digestive health. If that's not the case, you may be able to better handle it, right? So it depends. There's not one answer for everyone, and it depends on where you are in your journey. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. So I'm going to be covering kind of the common misconceptions with it, the difference between a plant-based diet and a vegan diet, and how the common vegan diet can actually lead to a lot of digestive issues, and all that jazz. Are you ready? Hi, Pam. Hello, everyone. Please come on and say hi in the comments. Hello. Okay, cool. So to put it like really simply, once again, I'm not here to offend anyone, but this is part of my experience, and this is what I see a lot. So if you're catching this live and this resonates with you, let me know. Have you tried going on a vegan diet, felt really, really good for a few months, maybe a few years, and then for some reason it just kind of plummets, right? Your energy plummets, your bloating gets kind of adjusted, out of whack, right? Your digestive health gets out of whack, things like that. This is very, very common. So most people feel a lot better on a vegan diet initially, and then they tell everyone to do it. Initially, because they're removing processed meats and dairy, right? Of course, you will not find processed meats or dairy on any of my programs. So once we take out McDonald's, Burger King, regular meat, whether it's red meat or chicken or anything like that, that's just like grown in a disgusting fashion, pumped with antibiotics and hormones, like that is not the meat that I consume. That is not the meat that I recommend you consume, right? Shelly raises her hand. Yeah. Exactly. It's very, very common, right? I felt really good at the beginning. I watched a food documentary. It kind of like scared me into it. Then I went vegan. This was years ago at this point. My body literally fell apart. I fractured my foot. I developed amenorrhea. I lost my period for 2 years. I dropped so much weight. My bloating issues completely exploded. It really, really did not serve my body. I had insomnia. I could barely sleep through the night, and I was not giving it up. I was like, no, this is the way. And I was being really stubborn. I was forced to listen to my body. So a lot of people initially feel better because they take out all this processed meat and dairy and animal product, right? Of course you're going to feel better if you do that. But to put it really simply, a vegan diet tends to be higher in sugar, carbohydrates, and soy, and lower in protein and omega-3s, right? Just kind of like generally speaking. This is a gut health nightmare, this combination. This is a gut health nightmare. And I have seen this over and over again in my students who really thought they were eating healthy too, right? And I've also had a few students go through my program who were following a vegan diet and they've made it through. But if you have a lot of repairing to do, chances are we have to take out a lot of these grains. We have to take out a lot of the sugars, right? So what does that leave you eating if you're not consuming any animal product, if you're not consuming bone broth or, wild caught fish or anything like that? It leaves you with fruits and vegetables, right? And sometimes, depending on what's up, maybe in the form of candida or something like that, like we're even scaling back on the fruit. Fruit is not bad. It has amazing vitamins and minerals and nutrients and all of those things, and fiber. It's beautiful and totally like nature's candy. But with that being said, it does still contain sugar. So sometimes we want to not take it out, but scale it back a little bit, right? It's really easy to have it kind of just add up throughout the day. So when you take out all that other stuff, what are you left eating? I mean, like vegetables, nuts, seeds. It's really not enough to like support your body and your well-being. And a lot of students come to me thinking that they're eating healthy, and they're eating grain bowls, right? They're eating acai bowls. They're eating grain bowls with quinoa and brown rice and chickpeas and all of these things. And maybe they're having, dried mango for dessert, right? Does any of this resonate with you? Let me know. And they're eating tempeh with their lunch and all of this stuff. So we've got really a lot higher levels of sugar, right? So all carbohydrates break down in sugars in the body. It does not mean that, grains or carbohydrates are bad for us. Please don't misunderstand. We need them. We need these sources of carbohydrates, right, for our body to fuel up and get through the day. But all carbohydrates break down into sugar. That's how it works, right? And the sugar, blood glucose, it raises our blood glucose, which produces insulin, right? Insulin is a pro-inflammatory hormone. So naturally, by bringing these levels of carbohydrates down a little bit, we tend to bring down inflammation a little bit, and we tend to bump our blood sugar less and less and less, which is going to be supportive of overall energy, gut health, sleep, what else? Hormonal balance, like everything in the book, right? It's also going to help prevent you from stuffing your face, opening up the fridge and stuffing your face because you're starving. That's what happens when our blood sugar crashes. Like when we get hangry, what's happening is that our blood sugar is crashing. And when that happens, we're like, don't care what I'm eating, I'm freaking starving, give me anything, right? Been there. I still get there sometimes when I'm just like working too much and whatever. Let me know, if that resonates with you as well. It's also when we show up to a restaurant and everything that we're on our plan doing our thing, right? Or we want to make healthy choices and we show up and we're so hungry, we're like, sure, give me the breadbasket, give me the wine, give me this, I don't care, I'm starving, right? We want to avoid that because it makes this whole process a bit harder. We don't want to be fighting our bodies, we want our bodies to be working with us. So going back to that, really all carbohydrates break down into sugar. So by having these high levels of like grain bowls, acai bowls, you guys, like the normal acai bowl can have easy 60 grams of sugar in it. That's more than a Coke, Yes, it contains fruit. Yes, it contains vitamins, but some people can be just fine with them. If you are trying to repair your gut health, these are not the answer. Like very likely, maybe it'll work for a few of you, but we really want to scale these back, right? This acai bowl is acai, which actually has no sugar. There could be 2 bananas blended in this, topped with granola, drizzled with honey, mixed with a milk that probably has sugar in it. I mean, this is more sugar than you would consume in a normal dessert. And if you're starting your day with this, it's just a fast track to a blood sugar nightmare, and you're going to be kind of recovering the rest of your day. You're going to feel exhausted. You're going to feel all of these things. So they are not my choice. That's why I developed the Hand Morning Power Smoothie. If you notice, it has very, very little sugar in it. It has fiber. It has healthy fats. It has high levels of protein, all that help keep our blood sugar levels really stable to help us stay energized and happy and in our bodies, right? Avoiding that feeling of anxiety of, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry, or oh my gosh, my levels are dipping, or anything like that. That's why a lot of the students in my program also see dramatic increases or decreases in their anxiety. Dramatic decreases in their anxiety because we're working with their blood sugar levels. So they're not experiencing that crash anymore where they're like, you know, it helps me so much. I like run at such a fast pace. I have to balance my blood sugar levels or I go cuckoo bananas. Okay, so these like grain bowls, things that are really dense in these carbohydrates, right? Maybe we're taking in a granola bar, maybe we're doing a cereal or whatever, because we're not eating eggs, we're not eating these other things. A few pieces of dried fruit. Dried fruit is a digestive nightmare and super high in sugar because all of the water's been taken out of it. It's similar to eating, you know, yes, it has vitamins, yes, totally, but I mean, really, really high in sugar, very difficult to digest because all of the water has been taken out of it. So it's really like dry on the digestive system. And these could all be the reason for your bloating, really. So a vegan diet can be problematic if you rely heavily on grains, sugar-based foods like the fruits, the dried fruits, things like that, and especially with an excess of dried fruits. And this is true for anyone, vegan or not, right? So even if you are consuming animal products, but your diet is still really high in these carbohydrates, like for example, and not all carbohydrates, vegetables are carbohydrates, you know? Carbohydrates, once again, they aren't bad. It's just kind of like knowing what's up with them, right? So if your day looks like a bowl of granola or maybe an acai bowl, and then you're getting to lunch and then you're having a sandwich with like a tempeh meat or a tofu meat or something, we'll get into soy as well. And then you go to dinner and then you have, you know, maybe a pasta or something like that contains no cheese or anything like that, but it's still vegan. This is so many carbohydrates, and then for dinner you're having fruit or dried fruit or a vegan ice cream that has tons of sugar in it, right? This is a nightmare. What this does is you're just feeding that bad bacteria in your gut. Yes, you're getting in some fiber, but there's a big difference between a vegan diet and a plant-based diet. So anyone that, I see a few people have popped in here that I've worked with before, like Elise, you know, my program is heavily plant-based. It is not vegan, but it's heavily plant-based, right? And I eat a heavily plant-based diet, but there's a difference between plant-based, like vegetable-based, veggies, fruits, seeds, nuts, things like that, and vegan diet, which like Oreos are vegan, tortilla chips are vegan, right? So these are still really, really processed foods that are not easy to digest and full of sugar. So this is where some people can be making these kinds of mistakes, right? It's not a whole food. So I have like seen lots and lots of people before where they try out a vegan diet, so then all of a sudden they're eating like soy dogs. What are soy dogs? No, y'all. I mean, the ingredients in these things, like what even is this? Anything, like if it contains seitan or whatever it's called, I mean, this is straight gluten. This is like a digestive health nightmare. Soy, all of this soy is genetically modified, full of pesticides, totally like packed in, really difficult to digest. This is not, I would rather you eat a grass-fed burger. I would rather you eat vegetables. I would rather you eat a piece of hormone-free chicken. I would rather you eat a piece of wild-caught fish or some black beans or something like that. But it's when we start bringing in all of these different substitutes, we get into a lot of trouble. And it's easy to, because there's not, especially if you're just jumping into it and you don't really have the proper education around it, which like I don't blame you, right? But then we go to the store and then there's vegan products all over the place, right? So there's vegan cheeses, there's vegan meats, there's vegan this and that. But like, what are the ingredients in these things? And are we taking a look at that? You are going to feel the best when you eat whole natural foods from the earth. They can be plant-based foods, right? Like vegetables, fruits, things like that. But we don't want this processed junk, right? It's still processed food. I don't care if the cookie is vegan and gluten-free, it's still processed. That doesn't mean you can never have one in your life either, right? But I'm just saying, like, if you're working to recover your health, most of my community, is in a really bad place, right? Like our digestive health is a wreck and we are trying to recover and we've tried a million things. So these processed foods, these gums, these preservatives, all of this stuff we've got to take out of the diet to help the body start to heal itself. And so here's the deal as well. All of these sugar-based foods, and excess of these dried fruits, all of these things, these grains, these will preferentially feed the pathogenic and harmful bacteria and yeast in the gut. That's what's kind of happening. That's why we want to reduce the load of sugar, right? Which can then thrive, causing issues like bloating, like bowel irregularities, like potentially even SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIFO, small intestinal fungal overgrowth, as well as a loss of beneficial bacteria that become overwhelmed by the bad bacteria. So when we're eating foods that are really high in sugars, they're feeding these bad bacteria in the gut. And once again, all of these grains, all of these carbohydrates, whether it's a donut or quinoa, break down into sugar. We know the better choice. Yeah, we already know there's more supportive choice, but just keep that in mind, right? So they break down into sugar. These are feeding the sugar in our gut. And these when we feed these bad bacteria in our gut, a lot of the students that come into my program already have an overgrowth of bad bacteria in their gut. That's what's causing the issue. Then that leads to damage to the gut lining, right? This is what's causing the bloating, because our bodies don't just bloat, right? It's the bacteria that ferments that causes gas. That's what the bloating actually is, right? So it's not like, oh, we just bloat. It's like there's a bacterial situation going on. That's kind of like the science of it. When there's an overgrowth of bacteria, that'll damage the gut lining. When there's an overgrowth of bacteria, we'll start producing less stomach acid. So it's kind of just like a negative spiral of crap that we want to avoid, right? So, and when that happens, the bad bacteria will start to overwhelm the good bacteria, right? That's when we really run into issues. So when we're feeding the bad bacteria over and over again, it's not that we don't have any good bacteria, but we're not feeding those. So we're feeding the bad, so it's like the balance gets off. Our gut microbiome composition gets off. Oops, sorry, y'all. Sorry, I got a phone call. That's when we really get into issues, right? Like I said, gut lining damage, all of that stuff. Do we have any questions so far? I saw one come through. Elise said, how do you feel about impossible meat? I would need to look at the exact ingredients of it again, to be honest. Because there's like impossible meat and there's Beyond Burger. I don't think those are the same thing, right? I would need to look at the ingredients again. One of them is like less damaging than the other, but I'm not really a fan, to be completely honest. Anything that's like trying to be meat that isn't meat, I think should just go away. Okay, so in a vegan diet, once again, not saying that grains are bad. Grains are not bad, right? Gluten-free grains are not bad. But in a vegan diet, we start to basically automatically increase the amount of grains because we've taken out all of that animal protein, right? So grains are one of your greater sources of sugar, and they're deemed healthy and nutritious in normal circumstances, and they are the foundation of a vegan diet, but they can be the root cause of gut issues, right? So I've had a student in my Healing Guts and Shaken Butts program in the past, and she was experiencing bloating, had seen a nutritionist, had seen a dietitian, had seen multiple GIs, all of these things. And she was like really hesitant to sign up because she was like, girlfriend, nothing's worked for me thus far. And I was like, trust the process. And then she came on in, and she was eating like huge bowls of oatmeal and or granola for breakfast, and she was eating when she wasn't hungry, and then she was snacking on fruit thinking it was healthy, and then she was having, you know what I mean? So it was like so much sugar and carbohydrates throughout the day. She was always exhausted, and she always had to snack. That was a big thing too, right? It's because of these blood sugar levels being imbalanced. So when we start to elongate the blood sugar curve, we start to be able to snack less. Our cravings naturally go away, right? Like I really don't snack throughout the day unless I'm like emotionally eating, like I'm bored or I'm avoiding a task or something like that, because I am human as well, you know? That's kind of when it pops up in my life. It's not because I actually feel hungry or because I actually like need the energy and feel tired of it, because I've worked so hard to elongate my blood sugar curve naturally. And this is what so many of my students in Healing Guts and Shaken Butts experience, because all of them say They all are like, wow, I expected to be way more hungry than I was. And I actually stopped snacking and all of these things. And stopping snacking also supports your digestive system because of that MMC pathway, our migrating motor complex, needs about 3 hours and 45 minutes to push the food through your small intestines. And it only operates and like turns on when we're fasting, when we don't have any food in there. So we want to space our meals out about 4 hours in between. So if you're eating 6 small meals all day long, that alone could be causing your bloating because you're never giving your digestive system a chance to catch up, right? Another question came through. Okay, Sierra says, how do you go back to eating meat if you've been eating mostly plant-based and now meat makes you sick? Yeah, totally. So this is something that I kind of experienced. I was so scared. And if y'all like really want to know what happened, my body was falling apart. I was so scared. My weight got down to like 113 and I'm 5'8". It was not good. And I remember coming home to see my family and my grandmother looking at me and just being like, what happened to you? Where did you go? And I was like, what do you mean? Blah, blah, blah. You know, it was getting to the point where like my head looked a little big on my body. You know what I mean? And she was like, you need eggs, you need this. And I was like, I'm scared. Anyway, and I didn't really want to. And I still don't consume dairy, right? Like that tastes like not cool to me. But I had a burger and it literally felt like nutrients were like dripping down my body. And I have talked to many people who have said this, right? They take like one bite of the meat and they're like, oh my gosh, it's like iron and protein and nutrients are like entering your system. This was not something that I like really wanted to do. My body was like calling out for it, right? So if you're eating mostly, once again, plant-based is great, right? If you want to add in bits of meat here and there, like just try it, start slow and listen to your body. But if you're feeling sick already due to a gut health issue, just bringing in the meat isn't gonna fix it. You know what I mean? We have to fix everything else that's going on. So I hope that helps, Sierra, but slow and steady. Don't overdo it, right? Maybe start with fish, maybe start with an egg first. Elise said, I had the exact same experience, a burger. Yeah, dude, I know. And like, it's this, once again, you know, I really prioritize the quality of my meat, right? How these animals were raised, things like that, where these animals are, where this meat is coming from. I eat it, and I eat meat now, but let me tell you, like I eat a lot more vegetables than I eat meat, right? So it's not like I went 0 to 100. I started bringing it in. I like to consider it as like a condiment. So one of the things that you get inside of my Healing Guts and Shaken Butts program is a breakdown of an optimal plate for optimal gut health, right? And meat is like this much of it, right? We've got other things in there that we really want to make sure we're getting in there. Elise said she had the same experience. Feel you. Pam says, what about having to be gluten-free? Having to be gluten-free, like, what do you mean? I personally am gluten-free. I don't eat a lot of gluten. I'll eat it time here and there, like when I'm out to dinner with my mom and we're at a yummy Italian restaurant. But I don't see gluten doing any of us any good most of the time. So you'll also find on my programs, one of the things, we do a lot of other things, but one of the things we do is take out gluten for a period of time as well. Sierra said, thanks. I tried a grass-fed burger and felt so sick, but maybe starting small is a better idea. Yeah, totally. I mean, small. I'm talking like a meatball, you know what I mean? Or like a tiny piece of something. Yeah, I had the burger and then I had like my grandma made some lamb stew and I was like, oh, I cannot eat this. And then I had one bite and was like, it's like my eyes like opened up. I don't know. Shelly said, I had the exact same experience and was so scared that my body would react like crazy, but because I used high quality fish and eggs, my body was loving it after years of not eating it. Yeah, totally. I feel you, girl. Yeah, I mean, because, and I'm kind of like going off topic a little bit here. I have more to explain. But in my personal opinion and what I see with others, it's really difficult to do a vegan diet and get all of your nutrients. And I know that you can get protein on a vegan diet. And once again, I eat more plants than literally anything. I'll go days without eating meat. I think a really small amount does your body a lot of good. But let's see here. Oh, I thought another question came through. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's little amounts do the body really good, but I think it's really hard to get the nutrients that you need. You have to like really be on top of your game. I just like wasn't taking in that extra effort. And I also don't eat gluten because that wrecks your gut lining, right? And my gut was already in such a bad place that I couldn't digest beans very well either. So what was I left eating? I was left eating like vegetables and almonds, you know? My body just completely withered away and my bloating got a million times worse. So I find it, you can do it, but you have to supplement with other things, in my opinion. And yes, you can get protein, but I mean, you guys, like if you look at the amount of protein that you can get in a piece of animal protein, like this big, compared to the amount of broccoli that you need to eat for that, you have to eat like so much broccoli that your stomach would hurt to get the same amount of protein as this much meat, you know? I think some can do it, and everyone's body is different, and I think blood plays a little bit of a role, and obviously your digestive health plays a little bit of a role. But if you're dealing with a gut health issue right now and something needs to be shifted, right? So something's got to change or you wouldn't be feeling this way. So that's kind of my 2 cents. Paula says, so do you believe that the body works at its optimal when consuming meat? Works at its optimal. I think that the body works at its optimal when the gut is working. So once again, I think that if your gut is working well, most of my audience, their gut is not working properly, right? So I think that is number one. If you can actually digest what you're eating, whether it's plants or grains or meat, I think that matters first and foremost. Are you actually digesting what you're eating? Once again, if your gut is not working, we naturally have to scale back on sugar and carbohydrates in the form of grains and maybe sometimes beans because they can be really difficult to digest for people, and soy can be very difficult to digest for people, right? Soy dogs, all things like this, really difficult to digest for most people, especially if there's something wrong with your gut. So if your gut's in a good spot, you can probably do the vegan diet. I would say for a period of time. I think once again, going back to what I said at the beginning, a lot of people feel really good on it for the first few months, if not the first few years. I don't personally see it as super sustainable. I don't see it super sustainable for hormonal health either, especially as women, because our bodies require more things when we are trying to enhance fertility or balance out our hormones or get pregnant, right? So, and I've seen this happen. I've seen it happen from a lot of people. And I was just talking to Dr. Saima, who's coming on to my team and giving all of my students in Healing Guts and Shaken Butts the option to testing. And, she is a trained doctor of Chinese medicine. And she was like, it's really difficult when women come in here and they won't give up, they won't add any little bits of animal protein in, and they're trying to get pregnant because they can't, the fertility thing. It can just be hard. I also know a lot of women who have been vegan up until the point of having a baby and throughout their pregnancy needed to add in some bits of animal protein because you're growing something, right? The nutrients are super bioavailable in those forms. Okay, I've got a question here. Okay, so a few more things that I wanted to touch on, right? Okay, so vegan diets can also mean an increased level of soy products, right? So soy protein sources can cause hormone disruptions, including estrogen and thyroid hormone, once again talking about hormonal health. Again, as a result of excluding all forms of animal protein, vegans turn to soy as a protein source a lot of the time. While unprocessed forms of soy may be okay, like tempeh, right, maybe edamame beans, things like that. Processed forms of soy are really commonly found in the vegan diet, like tofu, soy milk, and soy-based meat substitutes, right? I mean, soy milk, y'all, when you think about how many soybeans it takes to make soy milk, it's a lot. It's a lot for your body to process, right? And I find a lot of my students as well will take out soy for a period of time and bring it back in, and they're like, whoa, I could not digest that, and I didn't know where that was coming from. That happened to me. Listen, I love tofu. I love the way that it tastes. I think it tastes good. I love the weird texture of it. I cannot digest it. It does not work with my body, personally. Once again, to each their own. Little bits here and there. Tempeh seems to be fine because it's fermented and it's in its whole form, right? So processed soy foods are no better for human health than any other highly processed foods, right? But they come with the added risk of hormone interference due to phytoestrogens found in all forms of soy, as well as the fact that most forms of soy, this is the most important, you guys, most forms of soy are highly genetically modified. So what that means is that their composition has been completely adjusted completely adjusted. They're also really high, they're sprayed with tons of pesticides. Corn, soy, and wheat are the biggest GMO products in our world right now. Biggest GMO, biggest sprayed with pesticides, right? So this is also why I think that a lot of people, we've seen this resurgence in a difficulty processing gluten, is not necessarily because of the wheat itself, but it's because these plants have been completely hybridized. It's not the same gluten that like my grandfather was eating. These things have shifted, right? Which is also why you may be able to do a little bit of like Ezekiel bread, because it's a sprouted whole grain that hasn't been messed with, versus when you just eat like bread at a restaurant and it kind of like wrecks your body, right? So it's quality here. And then vegan diets are also generally lower in protein and can cause these blood sugar swings in certain individuals, like I was kind of talking about, right? And there's also, once again, a risk of over-consuming carbohydrates on a vegan diet, especially since legumes are often consumed as a protein source, when really legumes are more so a carbohydrate source. Over-consuming carbohydrates can actually lead to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, blood sugar dysregulation, and other troublesome symptoms. Eating a diet that includes moderate to higher levels of protein has been shown to have a positive effect on satiety and weight management, and gut health. So once again, a few of the biggest takeaways I want you guys to take away from here. If you are eating a vegan diet right now, and your gut is out of whack, it is likely because you have a bacterial issue. It is likely because you have an overgrowth of bad bacteria, because you've been eating too many carbohydrates, potentially processed carbohydrates, soy meat substitutes, and sugar. That's likely what's going on. This overgrowth of bacteria then leads to damage in the gut lining, leads to suppressed stomach acid, leads to a whole host of issues: migraines, joint pain, acne, stomach pain, right? All of the things. As we can see from like 3 different women and then me on this live, a lot of people feel better taking it out initially and then have to bring it back in because the body is not getting what it needs to get, right? Another thing that I want you to take away from this is there's a difference between a plant-based diet and a vegan diet. A vegan diet can be corn chips, soy dogs, tofu snacks, jackfruit, barbecue, whatever, soy milk and cereal, right? Oreos, all of that is still vegan. A plant-based diet is vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, these other things, right? My program is a highly plant-based diet. And once again, I've had people that adhere to a vegan diet go through it before. It can be a little trickier because we have to take some of these things out. But it really depends on where you're at in your journey as well. So another thing that to really take into consideration that I want to leave you with is listen to your body. Listen to your body, right? It doesn't really matter what I say. How are you feeling? Are you feeling good right now? Awesome. Are you feeling bad right now? If you're feeling bad right now, we need to adjust something, right? It's just like as clear as that. My like Capricorn, analytical, practical brain will just break it down to that. If you feel good, stay with it. If you don't feel good, which is likely why you're on my live, we need to make a shift, right? Okay, I see a question here. Let's see if I can do this. Any other questions? Oh, I think the question disappeared. I can't find it anymore. Okay, so any other questions, you guys, before I hop off? And I would love to know your experiences as well. If you've experienced this, all that jazz, and what you're kind of thinking. And once again, it doesn't take much. You don't have to start eating burgers and like pounds of chicken. That's not what I'm saying either, right? Small amounts. Like in my personal experience and in the experience of all of my students, small amounts go a really long way. And quality over everything. Quality over quantity, quality for our planet, quality for your body, quality for everything, right? All right. Cool, you guys. Any last minute questions before I hop off? I also have a really exciting announcement. So I'm going to be opening up seats to my new free masterclass that walks you through all the phases of my gut repairing process. This is the first time I'm announcing it too, so stay on this live if you're on it. So I'm going to be opening up seats to my masterclass. It's my exact 3 phases, my exact formula that I teach all of my students in repairing their gut health. And if you want to join and save your seat, seats are going to fill up because there's a limited amount. It's going to be next week, and it's going to be a party. And if you want to save a seat, then shoot me a DM from this video. If you're catching the replay on Facebook, just let me know in the comments, and let me know, and I'll send you the link so you can save your seat. This isn't going really out to everyone else until tomorrow, so snag your seat while it's available. I walk you through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, what it really takes to repair your gut and to recover your digestive health long term. Even if you have tried everything, or you feel like you've tried everything, and you haven't gotten any results. This is different, and I'm gonna break it all down for you, right? I'm gonna break it down why it's different, what you need to do, all of that jazz. So shoot me a DM if you wanna snag a seat. I'm really, really excited about it. It's gonna be awesome. It's totally free. It's probably about an hour long, maybe a little longer. It's like some good juicy training for you guys, right? So yeah, cool. Let's see. Pam says, my niece went vegan because she got a dog. She's 5'7" and maybe 97 pounds. Eating very unhealthy. I feel horrible for her. Yeah. Totally. That's horrible. I feel bad for her too. I mean, I don't know what to say. Get in some more healthy whole foods. Okay, cool, you guys. Today was so much fun. I gotta grab a client, hop on a phone call with a client here next, and send me a DM if you want to join my masterclass. I'm so glad that you guys could be here with me today. The masterclass is gonna be baller. And if you have any other questions, just reach out. Sierra says, thank you so much. You're so welcome. Awesome, you guys. Have a good one.